Hey, it's Stephen Semple, and we've got a special episode for you today. Once again, Dave seems to be getting a lot of time off lately. I hope he's enjoying it. But who I have with me today is a special entrepreneur, Brian Cook, who he's got a couple of really interesting things to share with us today. So Brian founded a company called MedStretch. He's a franchisee of this program. They've had a bunch of success, and there's definitely a few really cool things that he shared with me that I think are going to be awesome lessons for everybody. So, Brian, starting off, correct me, I couldn't remember because I had a bunch of different notes from when we spoke. When did you found MedStretch? How long ago was it now?
So we founded StretchMed in November 2019. That's when we opened the first location.
Right, because I remember it was pre-pandemic, and I couldn't remember how close. So so you open up this thing that is in-person exercise in November of 2019, and I think something special happened in 2020. Like, holy crap!
Yeah, definitely. We had a blistering success. Sold a few franchises right off the bat. Actually, one of our first customers came in and loved the program so much she bought three franchises. We got a few open, and then COVID shut us down, and then we had to kind of do that whole thing, and it definitely took some wind out of the sails. But after a year or so, maybe even 2 years, we kind of got back on track, and things are going great now.
Right. So you almost had a start and then almost a reset start again when the world tried its best to get back to normal. And if you do any travel these days, whatever the heck normal, whatever the heck normal is.
Yeah, definitely. And it did force us to get really deep into digital marketing where we hadn't done that yet. We were mostly doing pop-up events and kind of in-person things, which is frankly a lot of work, effective, but a lot of work, where COVID really forced us to get real granular in the digital marketing, organic posting. In some ways did us a favor where now we do really, really well with the marketing.
It's amazing how many businesses that I've talked to and researched where they actually sit back and said, not that they would ever want to go through it again and not that they would ever wish it upon the world, but surprisingly, they really improved their businesses during COVID. It's amazing the things that we all said was impossible, like, oh, you can never sell this remotely, suddenly became possible. I remember with one customer, I had a conversation with them because they were in the home renovation business and saying, hey, you know what? You always have to be in the home. 3 weeks later, we're doing online selling via Zoom. It's amazing how all of a sudden it became possible. And now that's how they're doing it. And it's not like we went 100% back. It's really quite incredible. One of the things that you shared with me that was also interesting is how many franchises do you have now? Because I know you're on track to get to 100 pretty quickly, but how many are you at right now?
Yeah, so we've got 30 open and we've got 25 more in the queue. So 25 more that are purchased in the process of site selection, that, in the queue essentially. Eight of them are opening in the next 2 months.
Right.
And then the plan is just to keep adding more and more into the queue, and then we'll continue to staff up as we scale up.
And the thing that I find astounding, you talk about 20, and most franchise systems don't make it to 20. It's really, it's amazing again how many of them are very tiny and very small. So good for you in terms of the fact that you're going to be in a heartbeat's time. You're going to be at 50, which puts you, really in the top, probably 25% of franchises out there. And in fact, in pretty short period of time, because although 2019 was the technical opening 5 years ago, it really wasn't. It's really probably more like 3 years ago that you really got going and rolling. So well done. Really, really well done.
Thank you.
To me, it was also really interesting when you shared with me what your guys' system is, because you're really changing the way that stretching is being delivered in the marketplace. Tell me about this idea and how did you come up with it?
Great question. So we started a little over 4 years ago, and looking at the market, there's a few competitors in the space, and everyone's pretty much charging in the $75 to $95 for a 50-minute stretch. And, we're heavy into looking at data, and something we get our owners to do is really, we want them to be analysts, look at the data. The data is going to tell you where you have opportunities in your business. And, us as the franchisor looking back, we're still seeing a lot of turnover, still seeing a lot of people come in and out of the program. And if you back up and you say, well, at $75 or $80 a stretch to come once a week, you're in the $300 to $350 a month space. So it's significant expense for most people. Some people not, but again, the masses, that's a lot of money. And, as we sat back and looked at success of Massage Envy, this lower membership priced model, we looked at the success of the Joint chiropractic franchise. They're charging roughly $90 a month and you get 4 adjustments, and they've got, 800 locations open. So it was really like, how do we get the price down? So we spent a lot of time looking at, we want StretchMed to be, if you go to a fitness program, we want a StretchMed. We don't want it to be your program or StretchMed. So we piloted these flexibility trainers that allow us to have you come into the studio. We're going to show you how to use it the first 3 times you come in. You're going to spend 15 minutes on this device, this machine, going through the dynamic warm up. And then we get you on a table. And then we're on a table, we'll spend 10 minutes doing the, customized deep stretch, but you've already spent 15 minutes essentially warming up. So it allows us to deliver a 25-minute stretch, but only utilizing the therapist 10 minutes. We're able to turn 4 of these stretches per hour, allowed us to lower the price to $20 a stretch. So our entry-level membership, it's $80 a month, and you get 4 credits. 1 credit's a 25-minute stretch. And then if you want to, stack your credits, you can use all 4 credits, and you'll essentially get a 70-minute appointment, which would be 15 minutes on the trainer warming up, followed by a 55-minute, deep head to toe, 36 different stretches. So we're opening our first location in California, like next week. And like yesterday we had, 16 people book in free intros. So we're doing a free 25-minute intro, which obviously no risk, come in and try it out. And then $80 a month, like, oh, I can afford that. Oh, everyone can afford that. So we're seeing the growth probably, 5 times greater than it was before. A store in Boston that we piloted this 2.5 months ago, they've doubled in size in 2.5 months. So super exciting. And the way we like to say it, it's like you first got to find out what's the amount of money people can comfortably part with, and then how do you build the program to deliver results within that amount of money. And the direction we're going is we're gonna get you to do more at home. So we're gonna provide this $8 a month service that you can come more and spend a lot more, but we want that entry level to be very affordable. Then we're gonna get you to stretch at home, do more at home, buy one of these flexibility trainers at home, build a mobile app that holds you accountable at home.
Right. So the vision is that you would also sell the person this home device that they would take home, but you would also know whether or not the work has been done. So there's this accountability. So when they come back in, it's like, hey, you've been doing your stuff at home, or you've not been doing your stuff at home, which allows for that conversation.
Exactly. So it's the flexibility trainer, yoga mat, blocks, and a strap, and then this at-home routine. So the idea is that $80 a month that you pay is the most valuable thing that you have in your life, that there's no chance you would ever look at that fee and go, you know what, I want to cut that, because you've got someone checking in, hey, Stephen, great job. I saw you got 3 stretches in last week. Fantastic. Keep up the great work. You're coming in for that interaction, the hands-on that you can't, the stretch you put yourself through isn't the stretch we're going to put you through, right?
Right.
So we don't have to worry about losing you to your home. We just want to provide more value to you for the program, which will then increase the length of your stay, increase lifetime value, and ultimately fill up the store.
Stay tuned. We're going to wrap up this story and tell you how to apply this lesson to your business right after this.
Social post?
Yep.
Grinding it out?
Yep. Content treadmill.
Are you getting hearts and likes?
Sometimes, just a little bit.
You're consistent?
Daily, just like my coffee.
They're entertaining.
I think so.
So?
You think it's worth it?
Don't know. Ask the host.
This podcast host?
Yep. Oh, and you can book your free starter session on this podcast website.
Take it away, Dave.
Let's pick up our story where we left off, and trust me, you haven't missed a thing.
So one of the things that was interesting, when you were sharing this with me, it, brought me back. It actually recalled a podcast that I did. I guess it was back, episode 25 on supercuts. And, supercuts didn't just drop the price of haircutting. And I think this is the part that people lose when they go, oh, let's drop the price. Well, when you do that, there's a floor. Like, sure, you can do it less expensive, but it's like 10% less expensive or 15%. When you're really going down into this disruptive pricing model where you're really like $80 a month, it's because you changed how it's being delivered. Like that's what Frank Emmett and Jeffrey Rappaport, did at Supercuts. They changed the way hair was being cut, which allowed them at a profitable price deliver good quality haircuts, like decent quality haircuts at this price point that at the time the industry went, it's totally impossible. Just like for you saying, if you went to a traditional sports model or workout model or gym model and you go, hey, you're going to be with a trainer 4 times a month and we're going to charge $80 a month. It's like, that's not possible. But what you said is, oh no, there's a way to do it because basically you're only spending 10 minutes with the therapist, even though you are doing this 25-minute thing and getting the full value of it. So it's a real disruptive pricing model.
We still can generate the $80 an hour, and even some markets 80 a month, another market could be 90 a month. Manhattan might be 100 a month. So it allows us to still generate between $80 and $100 an hour, and then but reach probably, I don't know, let's take a guess, for every one person that can afford $350 a month, how many can afford or would like to spend $80 a month? And maybe is it 20 times the people? I have a feeling 20 times more people will spend $80 a month than $350. So now we look at this massive demand, and then think about the expectation of someone walking in to a beautiful stretching studio. They know they're spending $20 a week. Like, what's their perceived value? Like, right. This is the best thing in the world I've ever experienced, where the other person that can afford the $300, $400, $500 a month it's like, oh, it's just another high-end service.
Yeah. Well, and there's a saying, when you sell to the masses, you live with the classes. When you sell to the classes, you live with the masses. And what's really remarkable is when you look at the bell curve on income, like the average family income in the United States is like $65,000 a year. And when you even go up to $200,000, it starts becoming a significantly smaller percentage of the population. Yet how many people are suffering with knee pain and hip pain and back pain? All of these things which can be solved, with stretching, non-surgical, let's do some stretching. And you're bringing it down into that price point. And the other thing I love is the free sample. Like, okay, you're going to come in, you get to try this out for free because people are like, well, how good is it going to be for that price? And they get to experience it. It's a really innovative idea. So what made you, I get part of it was you were looking at how do I bring the price down? And you immediately recognize to bring the price down, I have to deliver the service differently. That's the McDonald's story. That's the Supercut story. That's Michael Dell's story. But a couple of things. What made you interested in stretching?
When StretchMed was formed, the purpose is to eliminate chronic pain, increase mobility, rejuvenate, and help you move well. So we kind of got really clear on that. And after doing a bunch of research, it shocked me that there's approximately 116 million Americans in chronic pain. Mm-hmm. People are turning to medication and there's just a lot of other complications happening from being in chronic pain for any extended period of time, which, not good for mental health, many things. But even to back up, for me, most of my career has been in boutique fitness, one-on-one personal training studios, small group training studios, did, approaching almost 200 locations across 4 different brands, and then happened to see the one-on-one stretching industry start to take off. And I kind of waited a minute and saw it over maybe several years take shape. And then I just remembered, is this something we can do? Does my team have the capability? Do I have the capability? So as I dug into it, it kind of brought me back to my one-on-one training days. And back even when I was 20 years old, personal training, I developed like a little 10-minute stretch after your session that my clients loved. And then when I joined a one-on-one training franchise as an area developer, I brought the stretching routine into that company, and it cascaded through the whole brand. And then when we got into group fitness, it kind of left. We didn't really have time for stretching in the group fitness concept. And then another thing is I used to personal train one of the partners of the Boston Red Sox way back, and I stretched him for 30 minutes and trained him for 30 minutes. But never did I think stretching would become its own thing. So once I saw that the studio's kind of taking shape, a few different competitors in the space, grabbed my daughter, flew around the country, went to about 6 different competitors, thought it was really cool, wasn't particularly blown away. There was some better than others. And then the key is, of course, is looking at the degree of scalability. How fast can you scale? What kind of service? And I was surprised at the lack of systems within the same franchises I went to, which I thought that was interesting. I've gone to multiple different studios within a franchise, and I'm getting a different treatment every time or a different experience every time. So I'm like, well, we're definitely not going to do that. So the best way to explain it is what the competitors do is they'll teach their therapists a certain number. They'll say, hey, use these number of stretches, but do anything you want.
Right.
What they didn't do is they didn't establish a minimum volume of stretching in a particular minute at a time. So what we did at StretchMed is we developed a sequence, a head-to-toe sequence, 10-minute, 25-minute, 40-minute, 55-minute different protocols, not including the flexibility trainer.
Right.
So these are super time efficient, and the best way to explain is we're getting twice the work done in the same minute of time. So you're feeling a lot more stretching when you go through one of our protocols.
But what's really interesting, and again, this is almost like so much like the Supercuts model, where before something like Supercuts came along, every hairstylist cut the hair however they wanted to cut the hair. And Frank and Jeffrey came along and said, no, this is the way you do it. It has to be done this way to create not only the consistency in time, the consistency experience, which also suddenly makes it something that's very, very, franchisable. But it's interesting too that this whole idea of stretching has been kind of, and I see this with a lot of people who've built really successful businesses. The idea wasn't brand new. It's been sitting in the background with you for a while. And then you saw, oh, wait a minute, this thing's starting to catch on. You went out and you did research, you visited a bunch of places and went, I think I can do this better, and then created this model that allows you to deliver it at this really exciting and, quite frankly, really disruptive price point that is going to be hard for competitors to copy. So, like, really exciting. So if somebody wanted to learn more about StretchMed, both as a potential customer or as if interested in terms of franchising, where do they go, man?
Yeah, so they can check out StretchMedStudios.com. So StretchMedStudios.com, and then there'll be our website. We're opening our first location in California, and like I mentioned, in a week. Super excited. We'll probably put 50 locations in California in the next 24 months alone, because it's such a ripe market. We started in Boston, as you know. We've got about, I think, 20 or so locations in the Boston market, and now we're in 15 states. And this should be a really big breakout year. We're bringing on a COO pretty soon, so I can start to take a step back, focus more on strategy and people development, and then this individual will take over the day-to-day.
Well, the thing that I want people to take away from this is this whole idea of, if you're wanting to go into a market and you want price as being your offer, again, it's not about being a little bit less expensive. And for you to be a lot less expensive, it means operationally, you've got to do something different. You've either got to uncover a real inefficiency in the marketplace or deliver the product or service in a dramatically different way for that to be done. And then what's really interesting about that is that that's hard to replicate. Like, eventually somebody will copy you. You've got a several year head start before that happens, because reverse engineering all those things, it takes time. Look, it took a long time for the computer. Like Michael Dell had a head start on the computer industry for a long time before people started going, yeah, that's maybe a better way to make computers, right? Like it didn't happen overnight. And, talk about an industry with really deep pockets looking around. I wish you all the success, and we'll have to have you back on in a couple of years' time and talk about where you are at that point. But if you had a lesson that you wanted to share, an insight or a lesson about this journey that you want to share with other entrepreneurs out there, what is it that you would like them to know? What would you like to share with them?
So for me, starting StretchMed, a little over 4 years ago, it really helped me get clear that I love starting new companies from scratch. That's really my passion. So for many listening, there's a cool software called FranChimp, FranChimp. And there's a list of about 3,500 franchisors. And as discussed, many don't make it past 20 units. I would challenge everyone to become a franchisor instead of a franchisee. And that's like the next chapter for me in a new company I'm going to start is helping entrepreneurs become franchisors, because it's the holy grail of wealth creation. As much as we would love you to buy a franchise, the goal really is to help people find what their true calling is, what's going to fit them the best, and where the greatest opportunity is. So yeah, I think and most things can be franchised, even though you think it might not be. Most things are. I don't think I've really heard much that can't be franchised. To me, it's a nice, 7-figure earning potential model, which then frees you time to invest and diversify investments. But the name of the game, you need to cash flow something in order to invest. You got to make money today before you can invest for tomorrow. So anyway, I love it. StretchMed has been exciting, starting the company, from scratch. Already looking forward to a couple other brands we're going to start in the coming year or two, which, I'd love to come back on. And every time we launch a new brand, we'll share with you listeners.
All right, awesome. Thanks for your time, Brian.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please share us, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and leave us a big, fat, juicy 5-star rating and review. And if you have any questions about this or any other podcast episode, email to questions@theempirebuilderspodcast.com.